I'm Terrence Dollard, the host of Comic Culture. We're in Charlotte for HeroesCon 2018. We shot some interviews on the first day, and we're bringing them to you now. We're talking with Hector and Chris from Faith and Fandom. So, Faith and Fandom is a series of books that looks at pop culture from a biblical perspective. So I'm wondering, what inspired the series of books, and what are you up to right now?
The inspiration basically is that I've been involved in geek culture as long as I've been involved in faith culture, and that's always been my perspective. And I just noticed in coming to cons for years that there's never really anyone else kind of expressing that, and I basically saw there's a hole that I can fill. There's a story I can tell that no one else is currently telling that I see, and so started writing the books for that purpose. Specifically, actually, I wrote the first one just to bring to HeroesCon, and it was supposed to be a one-time deal, and then, you know, going on 6 years later, it's not. But right now, we just put out the 5th volume of the book, and we're doing podcasts now. I'm doing a lot more panels and chapels at cons, and some more speaking events like that. So that's kind of what we're up to.
And I understand that you officiated a wedding.
Yeah, back in April at Oak City Comic Con, we officiated a wedding for the Kaysen family, and the entire bridal party was in cosplay. I was dressed like Mario. The bridal party marched down doing Black Panther Wakanda stuff with the spears. Their Unity candle was a Death Star candle, and they had a Rocky Melvin who does a fantastic Optimus Prime cosplay. Was basically like the usher. So there's a 7-foot Optimus Prime standing beside everyone through the whole thing.
And when you were first getting started writing about geek culture and faith, did you ever imagine that it would be embraced as much as it is? I mean, you're up to, what, the 5th or 6th volume now. You're officiating weddings. You're a fixture at cons. I think you said you're doing 28 this year. So did you ever expect to be embraced like this?
No. Not at all. I didn't expect this to last more than one show, let alone to go the way it has. But it's been really encouraging, and really within the first 20 minutes of the show today, there were people that came here just to pick up books, or we've had people come by to say, hey, we like the memes you make. So I mean, it's little things that I know that it's not the biggest market and it's not the biggest community that enjoys it, but it matters to some people, and that's kind of worth it to me.
And Chris, you are a retailer,
Yes.
as well as making reflections on, I guess the products and
Sure.
the media. So how did you get involved in this?
So the interesting thing for me is I actually stepped away from a totally different career, worked for the federal government, to go to seminary. So I started with seminary, and that got me to North Carolina. And through that process, I started going to conventions because I was kind of geeky, but I was still taking my ties off and getting used to not wearing a suit all the time from work, and really fell in with my local comic book store that through conventions in the Raleigh-Durham area got to one of those shows, and I was like, no, these are my people, these are the things I really enjoy, and kind of came to the same conclusion that there wasn't a lot of stuff taking place that was faith in our fandom, the stuff that we truly enjoy, and I started looking for that, and I came across Hector and the work that he was doing. So that was my first introduction, was actually at one of our first Oak City cons that we were in a bigger venue, because that was a hotel show. So that was that breaking out. That was the first time I met Hector, and we just kind of started talking. And then from there, for me, honestly, God just said, no, this is what I want you to do. Was, everyone's like, okay, you're going to spend 5 years in seminary, take a pulpit somewhere or whatever. I'm like, no, actually, during that process, I ended up working for that comic book store, eventually became manager of one of our 3 locations, and it just makes sense for me to stay put doing that so that I can sit on that side, sit in the culture each and every day, and be able to reflect and work with guys like Hector and other people, and helping show that this isn't weird for us as Christians to be in this space and enjoying it, but also that we have things that we can show and we can share both sides of who we are and really celebrate both sides.
So we're at HeroesCon, which is my personal favorite convention because it's all about comics. I don't need the movie stars. Just throwing it out there, San Diego. As fans, what are you most looking forward to at HeroesCon this year?
Honestly, I really like the art auction. I like seeing the artist's work. I like seeing how people respond to it. And this is kind of my anchor show. So this is the beginning / end of each year for me. You know, my calendar year for cons, and kind of feel out what I'm planning to do for the rest of the year. But honestly, this is the place I get to see all my artist friends. I think that's my favorite thing about every show is like the people I get to interact with, and HeroesCon is just one of those big places for that.
And what are you looking forward to?
So one of the things I love that HeroesCon was the first convention that I came to as a retailer to be able to set up to do our wear. So, you know, we were just down the aisle here. It was the first show that I'd been on the road that also my boss was like, yeah, you're going to run the booth. I was like, going to run a what? So getting to really get thrown into the con environment, this was my first time out a year ago. And what I learned at that show, and I'm doing quickly this year because I'm only in town for today, is I love being able to catch up with all the creators that are here. Like you said, it's not about the movie stars or any of that type of stuff. It's the people that are actually putting pen and ink to paper, drawing, and also writing the stories that we've all fallen in love with. And it's bad for my wallet because I tend to not buy like prints and things at these shows. I tend to try to get original art or pages because that's literally, you know, the first iteration of a book before we see it, and to see how the artist kind of envisioned even just their black and white, sometimes before they even get ink to page, what they were really envisioning is just so cool to me. And then being able to sit there and talk to an artist about how did they come to this? Why did you do this? And sometimes on the back of those you'll see they'll start sketching their idea and then flip the page back to actually finalize it. That is so cool how much story actually gets told in the raw page of a book before we even get the final product. That these shows and shows that follow in the year, I spend as much time as I can in Artist Alley talking to the people that literally create the content that creates the fan base that we celebrate.
I think that's why we all love it.
Right.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.